Hi, the boys.
Hey.
Stream, I regret to inform you, Bryce webcam does not exist. And my mom needed it, apparently. So, no Bryce webcam for this stream. But, I'll turn my mic up extra loud to make sure you guys know I didn't go anywhere.
Or you can draw a little picture of yourself.
I should draw a little picture of myself.
Hey, stream. Good to see y'all. This has been a disaster. Not outing you, Bryce. Bryce was late.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
Here's the thing.
No, how is it a disaster? How? Wait.
Listen.
Wait!
We'll explain in detail the disaster.
You were late, and so that is why our stream is late. However, I did not post anything saying that we were streaming, so I was also late, and I could do it retroactively. But I think, you know what? If you're here, you're here.
You're here.
And if not, well then too bad.
Stream is yelling at us because we're so late. We've been late this whole time. And I'm like, chat. It's okay. Calm down. Bryce got a little sleepy with it.
Well, I also don't know how else to explain that, like, getting on and, like, playing video games and talking with my friends is a really hard job.
It's a hard job to have.
Like, I think you guys are expecting too much of us.
Yeah, I think you guys need to lower those expectations a little bit.
Agreed.
I think if nothing else, the two of you just need to realize that if you're not on time, that means I get less time with my boys, and I'm gonna kill myself.
Whoa.
I'm so alone.
Whoa.
Does it look like
so by being late, you're hurting me.
You gotta like look down right. Yeah, there you go. He's telling you. He's like, yo.
I'm really sad. I'm saying, don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself.
So, guys, I want to bring up as one of the first topics. Okay.
Wait, dude, like, is it working?
Wait, a little bit higher, Ryan. Josh, a little bit back. There you go. Wait, a little bit forward. All right, this is stupid. I wanted to talk about how we got some new music from the boys, the men themselves, the 21 Pilots. We know them, we love them.
Wait, can we talk? We haven't even talked about weeks yet.
Well, hold on.
What are you doing?
Hold on.
Bryce?
We'll get into it. Let me talk about this. All right. Now, Ryan is a born hater. I know this. We all know this. He's a born hater. Born to hate. Forced to love, some would say. Whoa. When you guys were listening to the new 21 Pilots song, New Semester, what did you guys think? I wanted to get your thoughts just right out the bat because I didn't read any of it.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So bad.
Wow.
I was
first, then,
because I think my opinion doesn't nearly as matter as much as yours because you guys are so smart and you guys are so talented and thought out with your responses, and that like it was so much that I wanted stream to hear it. So you guys go ahead.
Well, give us yours first.
Yeah, I want yours first.
All right. Well, I think that this song was really good, and it makes me more and more excited the more singles that they put out for this new record because it's in a direction where I really like them. Their sound especially. I didn't really like the Scaled and Icy sound as much as I do this one. I wouldn't say it necessarily goes back to Trench, but I say it goes back more to like the Blurry Face a little bit, and I really am liking the direction that they're doing for this album, especially the sound on this new song sounds really different, and my god, the drum mixing sounds so fucking clean. Oh my god, the drums in these sound so fucking good. I love them so much. But yeah, overall, I fucking love this song. I think I've listened to it already more than Overreaction, whatever. Overcompensate. I've listened to it far more than that one. I love like the backing like melodies, the bridge, and then the final like acoustic bit that he does at the end of the song. It's just so fucking good. Josh, what do you think?
I really liked it. I liked it a lot. When it first started, I was unsure about what I was gonna think. And I'll be honest, is with the verses, I don't really like him. I don't really like the I don't know, it almost sounds like a little cheesy. Not necessarily. I'm not talking lyrical content or whatever, but just kind of general sound. Like the that it's very Scott Pilgrim. Very Scott Pilgrim with the instrumentation on the verses, and I just think it's a little cheesy. And so at first I was like, oh, but then we get to the chorus, and I was like, oh. But then we got to the second chorus, bridge, final chorus, and that really, really did it for me. I thought they were awesome. I think they sound really good. I think that there's a lot to kind of unpack with it, but at the same time, it's very bare bones. I don't know, like there's a lot you can apply to it. But I guess like what the thing that like interested me the most was, 21 Pilots has always talked about mental health. They've always talked about suicide. They've always talked about whatever. And Tyler has like alluded to his own attempt plural and stuff in past songs, but never really like spoken about it, I guess. Like it's just kind of been more about the general idea of suicide rather than his particular instance with it. Whereas this one, he's telling you his story, like his story with his attempt. That's what that chorus is. And like that's pretty crazy to hear him talk about that. So that kind of immediately
definitely get into like a personal insight for 21 Pilots, like lyrics. Like you usually never get that. It's very much broad and about like more us than like
that's what I was gonna say.
him.
Like I think like in past songs, whenever he's talked about it, it's been very wrapped up in metaphor. It's been very I don't know, like complex, I guess, with the way in which it's presented. And that's what drew me into 21 Pilots initially. Was I liked the discussion about mental health, and I liked the way he would talk about it. I liked that it was kind of this thought-provoking thing. It got you to start thinking, got you to start asking questions, open up a whole discussion about mental health in general. Really, really cool. But so it was kind of like he would talk about it, he would say all these things, and it was almost like he was asking you this question of like, do you know what I mean? Whereas like this time around, he's talking about his experience. He's opening up and being honest about it. It's very out there in front of you, like this is what it is. And then it's not asking you, do you understand what I mean? He's telling you what he's talking about, and like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, kind of thing. And I think it's more like if you've made an attempt, if you've been there and you like know that, then like theoretically this will resonate with you. I don't think he's necessarily saying it to try and get it to resonate or anything.
Yeah.
But like if you've been there, if you get that, then it should hopefully resonate. Although I don't think that's the idea of the song to resonate with you like that. But I really liked it a lot. I think it kind of did what 21 Pilots did initially, where it kind of felt like it put certain feelings and thoughts to words that I had trouble kind of like really writing out myself, even if it was just like, how am I thinking about this? How do I word these thoughts? How do I word these feelings? I think, and that's another point that I wanted to bring up. Probably my last point on it is that I think lyrically it's not very complex or anything, but it's not really trying to be. I think a lot happens in the subtext, whether that like with the musicality of the song, the way it sounds and stuff really does a good job of, I think, describing that feeling. And even the lyrics of when I look back at like attempts that I made and stuff, like it's weird what you remember.
Yeah,
it's weird the parts that you remember, and it all kind of seems like a weird like mishmash, like almost like a blurry image and stuff, but there are like little details that you remember of it. But it also does a good job describing this feeling of you are making this decision, you're standing on the edge, you're right there, and you're like, I'm about to kill myself, like I'm about to take my life or about to do whatever. And, whether that's you survive the attempt, somehow somebody, he does it as where he was standing in the middle of the road and someone yelled at him to get out of the road. It's kind of this thing of like, when you get pulled back to reality, it's weird. It's like almost unsettling. It's like strange. It's like, it's a feeling I can't really describe. And I think the song doesn't really try to, but does it accurately with just the way everything sounds. I think, I don't know. I personally thought he did a really good job. And truthfully, though musically and lyrically it's not all of the reasons that like I really came to love 21 Pilots and stuff, it's very, very different, especially the sound. This is not a 21 Pilots song in terms of sound and whatever. It might go down as one of my favorites though from their entire discography.
It's funny that we said the exact same thing during like Saturday when it came out last time for their song. How it was just like, this doesn't sound like 21 Pilots, but it had like the inverse effect of being like, this is from a Kohl's ad. Why is he playing this?
Right. Well, I think, well, speaking of Saturday though, like I also want to make this clear is that like, 21 Pilots is my favorite band and whatever, and I have a strong amount of bias when it comes to their stuff, but they're not immune to making bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Saturday is an example of that. I like Saturday now, but when it first came out, I was like, dude, this fucking blows. And Scaled and Icy is like a fine record, and I like it, but way at the bottom of their discography. I'm talking bottom of the barrel. Like everything else they've ever done, even like the old stuff, goes above it. And whatever. And there's strong moments on Scaled and Icy that are really strong, but as a whole, it was just kind of eh.
Yeah.
Tyler's really good at trying things, and usually when he tries, it's like, look at this, and like he kills it. Even if like this song again, not what you'd associate 21 Pilots with, but he was still tried a new genre on for size and did real good at it. But anyways, those are my thoughts. I really liked it. I think it'll go down as one of my favorites. I was really happy with it. It took me by surprise in probably the best way, and he kind of continues to do that.
Absolutely.
Think, with his career.
I think that song shows that just like how versatile that band is, and I love bands that don't stick to the same sound, because like whenever I listen, like I'm just throwing an example, this isn't necessarily shade, but like whenever I listen to like Post Malone, this is not necessarily to say towards his like most recent record, because he definitely shifted sounds, which I really enjoyed, but like when Post Malone came out with his like first 3 records, it was like, that's kind of just what Post Malone sounded like. You knew what you were going in for. You knew what it's like you were eating at like a McDonald's. Like, you know what you're getting. Not that it's bad. People love McDonald's. Josh loves McDonald's. But like the thing is, some people love McDonald's. And for me, I was just like, I don't know, man. I kind of wanted something else, something new, something different. And luckily for Post Malone, for that example, maybe it wasn't the best one. I did get something good, like with Chemical, and like that whole record, he just like kind of shifted a little bit, which I really like. And I think it's one of the reasons why I really like 21 Pilots, is because all those songs kind of do like take it like a shift. And there always is like maybe an album, like something that like surprises you, of like, wow, I didn't expect this specific sound or this song. And I think that's what I really like about this band, because as you guys know, I like to hop from one thing to another very quick. So to have something so differentiated from like one another from each song to song, it's nice to have that versatility. Ryan, what did you think of this song? And while you answer, my sister is not responding to her text, and I gotta go grab my drawing tablet, so give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Great. So you won't even be able to respond to what I say. We didn't talk too much about the first one, so I want to preface that I listened to Overcompensate when it came out, and I enjoyed it on a first listen, but I really enjoyed it a lot more on subsequent listens, which I would say is pretty typical. But I don't really have an expectation for 21 Pilots. All of their albums sound very different to me, while their subject matter may stay the same. Like, I don't. In his lyric writing, yes, there's obviously there's a lot of consistency, but in the sound, they all sound incredibly different to me. My favorite being the first album. The other ones I very much enjoy, but after like the first 3, their sound isn't really what I would normally listen to. So if they come on, I'm typically skipping those, but I very much still enjoy them. So with the sound of this new song, like, they obviously were going for something specific. And when I texted y'all about it, I said that I feel like this song could exist in like Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like a sort of YA anthem, like, we're gonna beat the bullies this time, sort of. But that's not a criticism. I know that sounds like I'm putting it down, but I'm not. Those have a great place. It sounds good. It sounds like that early 2010, like what a 16-year-old in 2010 would have thought punk was. But again, that's not a criticism. That's just like, I don't know another genre to put that in, but it sounds good. Your Scott Pilgrim reference was great. It very much sounds like that. It's not grunge, it's not punk, because it is a little bit more pop, obviously, but it's
very garage rock.
Yeah, garage rock is a great way to put it. I think a big garage rock fan would castrate us for saying that, but yes, I do agree. That being said, in terms of what I do expect from 21 Pilots, I think that, and I guess I'll kind of just be stating my text again when I told you about this before, but I was a little bit disappointed in the deliverance of the message of this one, which obviously was about suicide and from a personal level as well. I think what they've done perfectly, nearly perfectly, for every album up to Psy, which obviously didn't Psy discussed it, but in a different way. So every album up to Psy, when they discussed it, they were very upfront. They did everything except verbatim say like some people want to kill themselves. Well, actually they kind of did say that, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they've been very open, very bold about it, and that's what's been nice. It's not like a shock, but it's very much like we're not afraid to talk about this anymore. So now that we're in a world in which everybody does talk about that very openly, that's a very good thing. People are going to therapy a lot more. People are discussing their mental health crises a lot more openly. That's a good thing, right? Obviously, I don't think anybody's arguing that. So now that we live in that world where that boldness doesn't track so much anymore, you need to find subtler ways to do it. I think in Psy with Redecorate, they did it perfectly. They did a fantastic job at pointing a direct finger at suicide and self-harm and saying, this is the horror of it for different people in different ways, but it's all the same result in the end. And the result is not only your own, but the people around you, the people you love. There's a personal responsibility in it. There is a ripple effect in it. There's so much to say in the 3 minutes of that song. So when you come to this one, I was a little bit disappointed because I feel like they've done so much better at being subversive with this topic than what they did here. I think that the lyrics to me felt very shallow. It was like he was trying to be bold yet allegorical. And for me, I don't think that worked very well. It just seemed very like, I know this is very reductionist, but like I put in my text, it seemed to me more like, don't hit me up right now. Like, I'm not okay. Like it seemed way more like if I asked an AI generator to write a 21 Pilot song almost in terms of lyrics, because it didn't seem like and you know what, here's, I would never criticize a band or an artist for writing differently. I would criticize them if they're trying to replicate their old stuff and they fail at it. And I'm not saying that they went as far as doing that. But if Tyler is in a better headspace now, as we saw with creating something like Psy, which obviously in universe had its point, but out of universe, which is how I would say most people will, like, if you're going to hear the song on the radio, that's how most people are going to hear the song. I think they're going to hear this and be like, I don't know, I don't resonate with this because either I didn't get the message, which was still pretty poignant, or I did get it and it was way too on the nose and didn't like really relate because it's maybe too personal to his experience, So I think out of universe of the 21 Pilots lore, like this and Overcompensate, I think they had too many weird things. Like I think he's writing this album to be a little bit too in universe. I really disliked the whole like bend symbol thing that they did in the first song and the references to like Clancy and stuff. Like if you're writing this for the fans, then cool, great. That's another discussion to have. But as just someone who just wants to listen to music, and while I like the story, I'm not putting it on and thinking about that so much. I'm just here to listen to a song that sounds good. That's pulling me out of the song. I'm not having a good time when I hear, things that sound like that. And they're also unsatisfying lyrically. The yellow line part in this one, when he gets to that, and it's in the chorus too. Same thing with Ben Symbols in the chorus and the other one. I don't know. They're very jarring. They don't sound very good.
What do you think the bend symbol is? Like, what do you? Because here's what I'll say. And actually, you know what? Go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Continue what you're saying.
Yeah. So
that was just the point. I want to come back to it, but continue.
Sure. Those points, they become like just very obvious to just a casual listener, and I don't think that they lyrically sound very good. And then at the same time, I think if you're also trying to write something so deep, then you make it so personal. That's great as like your own piece of work, but when you're a superstar, and sure. I don't know, it just kind of takes me out as an audience member. It takes me out. And again, I'm also someone who has had multiple attempts on his life, but I didn't resonate with the song at all. And it's not because like my attempts were so different. I mean, they were. I never tried to jump out in front of a car. That wasn't my method to it. And I know that feeling of like, oh wow, I did wake up the next day, like, oh, I am here in the post, but I don't know. There was something about just the way that it was so like self-pointed that it felt way more like I'm an artist that can't connect to where my brain was before. And that's okay if that's where you're at. That's actually fantastic. But then when I see you writing about it, it just doesn't feel the same. and got to all. Oh yeah, I didn't feel that if you know, you know. Like I didn't feel. Oh, this is another point I wanted to make was. I think when you have been an artist for so long, I think I see this in Tyler, and you see this all the time with other people too. You see the artistry in your head, and then sometimes you lose ways to write it out, if that makes sense. If you've been working on something for so long, if you're so proud of something, sometimes it's really hard to take a step back and say, is this something that only I'm seeing? And obviously, it's not only him seeing it, but you are making connections biasly in your head that you know exist that you would maybe expect other people to pick up on, but maybe they don't exist. Maybe you didn't implant them the way that you think that you did because it's just been in your head for so long. And this is a really weird jump to make, but it's the same criticism I made of Final Fantasy 15 when they'd worked on that game for so long and they were so proud of the game when it came out. I'm like, well, that's kind of what happens when you work on something so long is you can't see the flaws anymore. You know, you're kind of blind to it. And I think that's maybe what happened in terms of my taste in this song, my lack of taste in this song. But I am very excited to see sonically, like musically, where this album goes because I like this sound a lot. I think they can do really amazing things with it. And I would kind of guess that these two are just introductory pieces to what will be a more experimental album in that sound. Not that it'll be like a crazy, like these sound so crazy, but I think for them it'll be, you know, it's another take, it's another branch, and that's great. But I think that this will be very different, and I'm excited to hear that music because I've always enjoyed that. And it does seem like an obvious next step for them. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that like in between like Vessel and Blurry Face, you know? So excited to hear that. Hope that the writing is a little bit better in subsequent songs. To answer your question, Josh, on one hand, I don't know. On the other hand, I'm thinking like maybe their logo. I don't know. But regardless, like if I, as a casual listener, don't really know what you're talking about, I'm not going to like look it up and get an answer. But even if I didn't, in like literally hearing it in the song, it's unsatisfying. Like it actually, I think it just sounds bad. You know what I mean? Like
I think that goes the same with the Clancy line as well.
Yes, agreed. Like it sonically sounds unsatisfying.
Well, what I'll say about that is that so the Dangerous Ben symbol like is not referencing the logo. It's not referencing the neon gravestone little thing at all. It's referencing the actual road sign, like when there's a dangerous bend ahead. That's what he's talking about. Because that song is about like all the times that, you know, the dangerous bend is like proceed with caution, like, you know, this might be bad for you if you drive this way, whatever. And like him saying, well, fuck all that. Like every time in my life that's been like, this could be a bad decision. Like I'm just going to make it anyways and just, you know, hope for the best kind of thing is what he's referencing. So he's not referencing his, you know, anything that's 21 Pilots lore related. You know, it's just, do you know the road sign? Then you'll get that reference. And then for the yellow flashes in the street, or you know, yellow dashes in the street, that's not Bandito stuff. That's the literal
that one's
road line.
Yeah, so, I know that one. Yeah.
And stuff. I'll agree with you though on the Clancy thing. Like especially when he's like, if you can't see, I am Clancy. Oh, okay, dude. Like you know, I'll give it to him. But I totally feel you. Like
corny as hell.
That line in particular, I'm like, okay, friend, gotcha. I think that, however. A couple points, and I also don't want this to sound like I'm like, well, actually you're wrong and I'm right, or whatever. Like I hope it doesn't come across that way. But with this song in particular, Next Semester and stuff, I think it's devoid of any sort of 21 Pilots lore. I think you know what I was saying with if you get it, you get it is either hopefully, well, theoretically, if you've made an attempt on your life or whatever, then maybe the feeling that he's trying to describe or whatever will be something you resonate with. However, I don't think this song was written for anyone but him. You know, I don't think it needs any metaphor. I don't think it's tied to the lore. I think when you kind of made the point is that Redecorate is so good. I think Redecorate, the way in which he talks about suicide and self-harm and stuff is impactful, but he's describing other people's stories. You know, he's describing this is what it's like for others. This is what it's like for others. And it's, you know, this whole thing where it's very kind of inclusive in a way, whether it's actual inclusivity, talking about like trans people or, you know, inclusive of just like, hey, this is for everyone that's dealing with mental health shit, whatever. Where this song is just for him. Where, you know, he's not saying this is all of our experience. He said, this is my experience with panic attacks. This is my experience with almost killing myself. So I don't think, the lyrics, I don't think are meant to be as inclusive or as in-depth and stuff. I think when you think about him wanting to present his story and his past with that and whatever, he makes, I think I would say, just as where you say everything in Sopranos is like intentional and like whatever, that's exactly the way it is with 21 Pilots and him and the way he's gone about doing things, promoting things, writing things, or whatever. I think making the conscious decision to make it very bare bones and very minimal and very clear, and stuff, where instead of before where it's a little bit complex and stuff, I think is an intentional decision of, I'm telling you my story and I'm going to tell you as straightforward as I can, I guess, which is a departure from what they've done before. And I totally get why, like preferentially, that can be a little jarring and stuff. But I think kind of those who get it extends beyond just like the experience of the song and stuff. And also like he's referenced this particular instance several times in past 21 Pilot songs, like him standing out on the road, and like that specific attempt he made on his life has been referenced throughout several 21 Pilot songs. And I think, if you've listened to the band long enough, you kind of get what he's going for with this, or whatever, which is just like, I don't think you need to know that to enjoy the song or understand it, but it's kind of like, if you understand him as he's presented himself to you through his work, then this is kind of the culmination of that. And I think if this album, and this is tying it to the lore, if this album is meant to end kind of the lore they've been doing for 4 albums now and stuff, then I think him actually opening up about this experience and stuff here at the end makes a lot of sense. And it's really interesting to see him do that. I think your points are valid and interesting. And I think that drawing that to redecorate and stuff is a really good point to kind of show how different it is. But I would say that difference, while maybe from a listener's perspective could be disappointing, I think is very intentional to what he's trying to accomplish with this.
I think that intention, though, is the problem that I have with it. Because, again, for like a casual listener, even if they clearly understand, and again, I think most people will understand what the song is about, right? Without ever hearing another 12 Pilots song. I don't think that makes it necessarily sound good. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I think if you're a judge, if you're a big 21 Pilots fan, this probably sounds a lot better to you than if you're not a big 21 Pilots fan, because you're making connections and you know levels of depth to it that maybe do exist, maybe don't exist, and you're used to making connections to it. And so maybe, people are making connections that aren't there. Maybe they're there. I don't know. But most people, when I say most people, I mean most people aren't going to do that, right? Because they don't have the context for it. Yeah. Or it'd be kind of silly to go out of your way, if you're just a casual listener, to go and try to find context for it. I think music can be judged on all different levels. That's a great way to judge one, especially if you're a big fan of someone already, right? But I think there is a big level of judgment to make on, can I just listen to this song in isolation and it sounds good to me? Sure. And I think this is a case where in isolation, this song doesn't sound very good.
I get that.
Musically, yes, but then lyrically, no. That'd be like my very like bare bones take on it.
I think if the whole song sounded like the verses, I would have a problem. But I think for me, it's really the chorus and whatever. I like, especially going from the bridge into the final chorus, that really clicked for me. It like lit up everything in my head that a good song does. It made me excited. I jumped up out of my bed and was like, yes, without having, just because I was like, this is good. But I get what you're saying totally. And someone that whose opinions I'm always interested in when it comes to 21 Pilots is Ben. Ben just hates him. Like, I wouldn't say he hates him. Hates is a strong word, or whatever. He just does not have enthusiasm for
He doesn't
them.
fuck with it.
He judges it purely based off, is this song enjoyable to listen to or not? He doesn't care about what he's trying to say. He doesn't care about any of that. Is it fun to listen to or is it not? So I've been hesitant to ask him.
That's crazy as a 1975 listener.
Yeah, I know. I've been hesitant to ask him
Really, I think that actually
his
tracks.
opinions on Overcompensate and this one because I'm curious what he'll think. I'm curious if he likes kind of I don't want to say like new direction, but sort of this take on that on a classic sound because I would say the sound of this one especially, you're right, is very classic.
Yeah,
You would hear this
100%.
before, and so that's why I was like when I listened to it the first time, I was like, this is wild coming from y'all.
Yeah, like the first 10 seconds, you're like, okay, I get it. Like I totally get it, and I'm ready for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
T Siphon
wild,
in chat. Thank you for the follow, by the way, T Siphon. Surprised you subscribed
go.
then followed, but that's fine. Even to the casual listener, the lyrics have just enough depth to make you think about the theme. That's an interesting way to think about it. I think it kind of the lyrics that he proposes in these songs specifically that he's recently released, especially this new one. I think you're exactly right. I think it's just like as a casual listener, it's just like, you know, it's not going over the deep end. It's not like a self-titled. It's not like something crazy like that. It's just like, hey, this is what I'm talking about this time. Just so y'all know.
Yeah.
I think, you know, a big argument that I made in text was that there's not depth to it. And when I say shallow, I think the word shallow has shifted a lot in meaning.
Mm-hmm.
When I say shallow, I just mean there is little depth to it. And that's not a criticism.
Yeah.
I think that's important sometimes. Sometimes we need very surface level things. I think this is very surface level. It is very personal. And for some people, that's going to be really good. I'm very glad for those people it's going to be really good. That just wasn't what I
absolutely
like to hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of all that it is.
I think he does his. Oh, sorry. Go
ahead. No, go ahead because I had another point and I don't remember what it was anymore. So
okay. I think he does his best work when he's being really complex and stuff. I think additionally 21 Pilots, I like that they are not afraid to try new sounds. I like that they're always, you know, kind of putting on a different hat and, you know, he keeps wearing it well. You know, even a song like Saturday, which though I like now, I really didn't like then. And it was clear what they were trying to do, kind of go for like your stereotypical pop banger and stuff like that. He wore it well. He did it good. Like that song hits all the points it's supposed to for what it's trying to be. I think they do have a sound that they're associated with. I think you know, most people when you think of 21 Pilots, you think of the Trench and Blurry Face sound specifically. And though there are differences even within those two, whether that's from one product to another or song to song even, there's kind of a cohesive sound. There's like kind of an idea. You have an idea of what 21 Pilots sounds like from those two albums. And I like that he keeps trying new things. But they're at their best when they are kind of in their element. Like when you have that particular sound or when you have lyrics that are really complex, that's what you expect from them. And that's where they do their best work. I think even in this song, though it's different from anything they've done, they're still kind of like, I hesitate to use the word ethereal, but kind of the ethereal element of the chorus and the bridge is a pretty classic 21 Pilots trope, and that kind of saves the song. So even kind of dipping their toes back into a little bit of what they're known for really pulls it back together. What I'll say, and again, I think this is just one thing where we're just kind of at odds, and it's like a preference thing, and that's totally fine. I just think for me, expecting complexity and recognizing that that's what made me like 21 Pilots and kind of the idea of it and whatever, to be presented with something like this where it's not so complex, where I would say there isn't so much depth and stuff, and it is kind of what really does it for me, and stuff like that, just because it's like, oh wow, like, you know, I've never heard that from you, you know, like this must really mean something to you, to you specifically. Absolutely. And not just like, you know, all my fans are dealing with stuff, so I want to write, you know, stuff that kind of makes them feel seen and heard, where it's like I'm sharing something about myself with you, and I'm not going to cover it up and all this stuff. Like, I'm just going to say this to you. I think that lack of depth kind of, you know, really does it for me, where I'm like, I've never heard you talk about this like this before. Like, this must really be something. And it seems to be. I think he even called it his favorite from the album and stuff, which, again, like, wow. But I totally understand what you're saying, and I want to go back to the point that the complexity and the stuff that they're known for is where they do their best work, and I don't think anyone's arguing that. I just think that the lack of depth really does a lot for this particular song, but I can totally understand why kind of seems like they may have even to an extent like kind of lost their edge, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really comes down to, again, very much preference, because I have never been one who cares much about what a song is saying in the first place. I'm happy to dive into it, and some songs have really touched me, but that's not what I look for in music. And people have done wonderful things with it, but that's not what I look for in music. That's where I read a book, where I watch a movie.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I get more long form content, brings me that depth, because oftentimes if I really start to look into something,
It's
I'll honestly
hard
kind of
to
get more
find that in short form content. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's just an immediate pop that come up to my head. It's like it's almost impossible to find that depth in short form content. Like one of my favorite TikTok creators, he reminds me of like a philosopher in a way, or a I can't remember of his name because I wish I could give you an example, but you've probably seen him. He always brings up these existential conversations with himself, and he plays characters and who he's talking to. But I think that's the only depth that I've found when it's like specifically bringing up those conversations to talk about. When it comes to like entertainment or anything like that, it's almost impossible to find it in short form content.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is for people like me and maybe Aaron, maybe you're the same way based on your message chat. I think that I require nuance if I'm going to digest a message. And I think that comes with a lot of content. You know what I mean? I think that comes with more to say everything that needs to be said. And I, like, even when I make something artistic, or if I'm like trying to explain my point, I'm always worried that I'm not saying enough to get this point across. And so again, sometimes when I kind of look into the meaning of some short form content, like music, where they're trying to be very deep, I'll kind of get more frustrated. And it's kind of just a problem with me, not a problem with the media, because I'm like, well, this isn't considering this, and it's not like I'm creating a battle with it. It's just more like it maybe just takes my enjoyment out of it a little bit, and the message just won't resonate with me as a result, because I feel like I require more to really get, not to understand what you're saying, but to like agree or sympathize with what you're saying, at least like emotionally. Like I can logically get it, you know, like it's not like any of the things that Tyler's made. There's nothing that is so surprising to be said, you know. It's more just like finally someone is bringing attention to this, you know, with things like depression and suicide and things like that, less than like, oh wow, that's a way I've never thought about it before. Like Josh, you made a good point. He's not saying things you haven't thought about before. He's saying them in ways that you haven't been able to articulate before. And I think that's great. And I'm glad that there's someone that's doing that for people. But if I want something challenging, I'm not going to get from music. So music for me is more like something that I love to sing to, or like if it's more like, I love orchestra and symphony because I just like the way it sounds.
Yeah. And
even then, like people will be like, oh, well, that is portraying this message because it was meant for ballet or it was meant for opera or whatever. I'm like, yeah. Sure.
Pipe down.
Anyway, I like the way that this sounds. So,
well, yeah. I would say, like, at risk of sounding like a huge homo, I'm just gonna say that, like, I think that where, like, I understand what you're saying, and I like the kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better like way of putting it, like kind of a brain puzzle of something that makes me think. I enjoy media that makes me think more, and stuff. I think I don't want to say more value in it, but kind of like, you know, there's
no, you're right. No, you're
like kind of more work that goes into that, and I enjoy getting to pick that apart. I'm not sure if we'll get into the Evangelion discussion, but it's a big reason why I like Ava. Add one to the counter. But what I'll say about music that I enjoy the most is where it's not really designed to make you think. It's designed to like make you feel. And I think that's something that I thoroughly enjoy and whatever. And when I find a song that's really special, it's because it made me feel something. You know, whether that's something I felt before or a new feeling or even something that makes me excited. But with 21 Pilots, time and time again, it's not so much about what it makes me think about, it's how it accurately describes feelings. You know, whether he's articulating that like lyrically or whether it's just the sound of the song that is like really pulling these feelings together. This song did that for me. I think it wasn't so much what he was saying, and whatever. Like that's relatable in its own right, but it was more so the feeling that the song portrayed was that kind of, what do I do now? I think to me is what I was getting from that. And I think that yes, music is not really going to be the thing that makes you think. There's oftentimes not going to be this depth. There's little time to really establish, as you were saying, like in short form content, there's little time to really get that across. The same stuff you would need to do that makes someone think without just throwing a bunch of words at them and being like, good luck, good luck. But it more so is the way that it describes feelings, that it makes you feel things, and whatever. So I hear what you're saying, but I think it's a little bit different when it goes versus in-depth stuff that makes you think versus just how it's supposed to make you feel. What are the feelings of it? But real quick, T-Siphon, or Nathan, I really appreciate you talking chats. I want to get to your message real quick. Where you're saying Neon Gravestone's more deep end and this and Overcompensate seem to be stepping out of their normal sound. This one, next semester, absolutely a departure from their normal sound. Never ever had they done anything like that. Overcompensate is going back to Trench. It's very sonically Trench, and whatever. I think Trench and Blurry Face are pretty linked, but Trench is just more of an evolution, and I think the better version of it. Overcompensate does go back to the sound of Trench, but it is a little bit different. He kind of has almost like a little bit of a like 90s rap thing going on in Overcompensate that I really like, because that rapping is not new for them, but kind of that style of it is new, and he sounds really, really good with it.
It's a little more. It was like he's white, so I feel goofy saying this. It was a little more hip hoppy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it sounded good. Like I thought there was like kind of some almost like bite to it. I think that I was like, ooh, like he sounds good with that. Even if he's saying some stupid shit about being Clancy, I was like, okay, brother, that sounded pretty heat though when you were talking about it. Neon Gravestones was deep end though. Neon Gravestones actually, when he presented that to the label and was like, and here's all the songs and this one's going on there, they were like, no, don't put that one on there. Like that's weird. That one's real weird, whether it's because of how it sounds or because what you're talking about. Let's not do that. And 21 Pilot's whole career has been saying fuck you to the label and doing whatever they want, and he put it on there and it was fire. And if you ever get the chance to see them live, hopefully they'll play Neon Gravestones, because that one live is really, really cool.
Bryce, get the dancing men off the screen. Okay?
Why?
Get the dancing men off the screen.
Do you not like them?
It's too memey.
Oh, they're funny.
What's that dude's name?
I don't know. Baldy.
What's that game?
I think it's Baldy.
Baldy, yeah. Y'all ever play Baldy?
Guys, what do you think
about
my
suicide,
Bryce picture?
Self-harm, and Bryce is putting up these.
Yeah, I was like, is this out of touch? Nah.
No, sorry, Jim.
Guys, thank you so much for talking with me about that. I was really curious on what you guys had to say. And I am a liar. I did read your message, but I didn't think my response was nearly as in-depth as your guys's, so I didn't feel like it was the right for me to say.
I wondered if you had read it, because you called me a hater, so I was like, how am I a hater?
No, I did read it. It's just like I didn't have nothing really to contribute. I think you guys were both saying some really good stuff on there, and I wanted you guys to say it on here because I think it's good for everyone to hear. So thank you guys for that. Guys, what do you think about my Bryce picture? I didn't want to do the mouth or nose, but I think the hair is pretty good.
I like that, yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
Hard to see from the Wojak, but they like it.
No, it's all right. The Wojak adds to it.
They like it.
I love the different eye slits.
I think it's kind of a cool drawing, honestly.
I think I watched Napoleon Dynamite draw this.
Hell yeah. That's fire.
That's cool. Looks fire.
Well,
good job, Bryce.
I've put it off for long enough. Guys, how was your week?
How was your week?
How was my week? No.
Yeah.
No. F you.
Yeah.
I started the conversation with 21 Pilot stuff. It's your turn now.
Wait,
no, because when we get into Ava.
That's what I was going to say. You need to get whatever you're going to say out now.
All right. My week was pretty good. I just worked a lot of project stuff. Didn't really do anything too crazy. I've been getting that itch of back on Risk of Rain 2. If you guys saw my solo stream, I was playing that. Just know I've never got off that game since that stream ended. I've been playing this whole time, and I haven't stopped. I think I have 100 hours. And just to go on for like the rest of my week, it was like just project stuff. It's so stressful. The deadline is like Friday, but my team was like, hey, I might have an emergency coming up where I need to push back this meeting to Monday instead of Friday. And I was like, oh, okay.
Might have an emergency?
Yeah, as in they're
this
bullshitting.
Is like Tony telling his therapist, like, I might need to go.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And so, it's been going well. I'm gonna cram out a lot tomorrow before stream.
Gamer.
Yeah, exactly. I might be sick tomorrow. That's me with the Elden Ring DLC. That's me with the Destiny 2 expansion. I will be sick on those days. And I guess you all will be, because we'll be streaming the Elden Ring expansion. You'll all be so sick and can't help but stream. All right, looks like everyone's back now. What did you guys do for this week? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Wow, it's been 2 weeks since...
It's been 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So Josh and I were gone last week. That's why we had the Bryce solo stream, because we went and saw End of Evangelion in theaters. We have both seen that movie probably collective 15 times at this point. What an incredible movie. Seeing it in theaters was a really unique experience, because I don't know what it was about this time, but maybe it was just like the setting I was in, and like my brother came and saw it with me, and I've been really waiting for him to watch it, and I was like just hyper aware of everything that was going on. I really just forgot that this is just action all the way through. There is just something happening on screen, crazy all the way through. Mm-hmm. And that makes it sound like this is an action movie. It's really not.
It's similar to like action, what we have as our background right now. There's always action going on.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like there's
feels like I'm watching the
happening at all moments. More just like just something important is happening, and all it's just boom. And you know, and it's for what? An hour and a half, not even. It's like 80 minutes long or something like that. Like it's just so much to happen in that time. And you know, I'm really interested if anybody watched this movie when it came out originally, or this re-release, or just ever in time. I'm really curious, people who have watched this movie and never watched the show first, and like if this is what they watched first. Like Josh, I know you saw the Asuka scene before you saw the show, like years before you saw the show. But I really want to know, like, people that watched End of Eva and then just never watched the show before, what would that have been like for you with just zero context? Just like, oh, there's a movie in theaters. I want
Let's
to go see
it.
Sure.
That's crazy. Because there's nothing that says like, okay, I guess it's called End of Evangelion. Like maybe you'd have context that like, oh, maybe this isn't the first of something, but it doesn't say like 1 or 2 or 3. So you wouldn't exactly be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So besides that, because I'm sure Josh and I'll get into that. What else have I done since then? I started playing Pokemon Sword. I've been wanting to play that for a long time. It's interesting to play it so many years after it's come out, because obviously the criticism of it was so harsh when it came out in terms of like graphics and what it offered, and not every Pokemon being in there and stuff and all that. Personally, I don't care that every Pokemon's not in there. Like, I get y'all's arguments, totally valid, I guess, but I just kind of just do not care. I love Pokemon. I love seeing all the little creatures and little dudes and little critters. To be honest, like, I just don't need every single one in there. Like, that's so, like, I get it. You want to have your like Garchomp in every single one. I understand, but there eventually, I think a line will be drawn that says like, not every one of these thousands of dudes is going to be in there every time, because that doesn't make so much sense. I guess if you're like a tournament battler and you're like, well, I love this one and I want to bring it into the tournaments that's going to be for this game, then you know, maybe I should shut my mouth, because that makes actually a lot of sense. But I don't know, in terms of like, I as a player who just plays the story and that's it and that's it, like, I just do not care.
I feel like that's like the main like the people that usually play it, like the core casual audience, is just they play through the story, and like you do all the champions or whatever it's called, get all your badges, and you're done. I mean, that's what I've done.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
Like I'm 2 badges in now.
I don't collect them all,
and I'm like, man, I guess I'm like 20% done with this game already, you know? So anyway, the towns, very pretty. Like, I was kind of surprised by the criticism of the graphics, because they look absolutely beautiful. They're kind of empty, and I have problems with like the NPCs in terms of like their originality, but in terms of like their design, it looks fantastic. The wild areas obviously have their graphical limitations, like things pop in and out, and maybe some models of like trees and stuff could be better. But I mean, a game as rich as Game Freak, could they made something better? Without a shadow of a doubt. If they gave more of a crap in terms of like putting more time and effort to the developers so that they could make something that they really would have enjoyed more, most likely, then yeah, they could have made something better. But so there's absolutely like a capitalistic criticism to make on that. But I mean, it doesn't look that bad, honestly. It doesn't. This game is what, like 6 years old now?
Yeah.
So I think for that, it's like I'm not too bitter about it. I mean, I'm curious to, after this, like in a year or so, maybe go to Sapphire and Violet, or what is it, Scarlet and Violet, excuse me, and see how much what glow up happened between those times, if anything. So curious about that. Started reading Dune.
Yes.
I got this.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the same copy you got, Bryce.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, it's not. I wish I could show stream mine, but yeah, no, I have a little worm on it, but yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I'm 70 pages in now, 70 something odd pages in. I'm liking it a lot.
You're like where
so
I'm
far.
at.
I understand the criticism people have made, and we're not gonna have a big Dune discussion here. We're not gonna do that this time. I'm saying no.
Yeah, it's like it's okay. That's okay, Ryan.
Yeah, I understand the criticism people have made now about its difficulty in the beginning, but honestly, they're right. But after the first 2 chapters, they're like, okay, now let's break it down for you. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Those first 2 chapters were really hard to get through because I'm just not gonna
with
get
the
this.
box like stuff.
No, with the names and the places and everything. I was like,
okay.
I'm not gonna get this. I'm not gonna get this. And then like by chapter 3, you're like, oh, okay, they're explaining everything they kind of just talked about. So I'm getting it now. Josh, I understand your points of like, there's no mystery to the audience because you hear people's thoughts and like the whole like assassination thing that's gonna eventually happen. Like you know about it a long time before. Like there's mystery for
that is true.
Characters inside, but not for the audience. And that's really interesting. What I will say about the writing style, I've read a lot better prose. So sometimes it's a little tricky to digest.
And for those who don't know, prose is the thing at the top of every chapter that kind of give you an insight on the world, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, prose is your writing style. Better, like very good prose is when you write in the way that you think or you speak. A way that's very digestible. Obviously, this was written like 70 years ago, so the speaking style is very different. Surprisingly, it feels pretty modern in terms of the writing, but the prose not necessarily. So that's a little bit tricky. It takes a little bit longer to digest than some other books because the way this is written is I'm imagining this almost like a play. Like I see these 2 characters sitting on a set. They're not going from location to location. If there's 2 characters talking so far, and again, I'm not even 100 pages in, so this could change a lot. If there's 2 characters talking, then they're standing in a room together and they're not going anywhere. Everything so far has been written like a play. It's 2, maybe 3 people talking. They're in a room. They're in an isolated situation. Like when Paul's in his training room, that one felt the most like it because he's sitting there, and I can almost imagine them on stage where the first guy comes in, talks to Paul, leaves. The second guy comes in, talks to Paul, leaves. The dad comes in, talks to Paul, leaves. Cut scene, move on to our characters have moved to Arrakis now. Meet the dad and Jessica standing in the living room. People are bringing boxes in. Like I can almost see that, because of the way it's written, which is not a bad thing. It's just interesting that it made itself kind of known to me that way because of the way that people are just kind of not going anywhere. I'm excited to read more of it because I like the politics in books. That's kind of what I gravitate towards. So I'm very excited to see that. He kind of spells everything out for you, which is nice. And I'm excited to see that kind of spelled out more. See how long it takes me to get through that because I want to then rewatch the first movie and then watch the second movie when I'm done reading it.
They pale in comparison.
You guys need to watch the movie, man.
I think I'll be more critical of the first movie, even more than I was of the first movie already, because already I'm like, whoa, this conversation's pretty important. Where was that?
I know. Like, okay, so here's the thing. Reading the book, like again, I haven't seen Dune Part 2 yet. It's on my list. I really want to go see it. I'm just waiting until I finish the book first. Whatever, and I need to sit down and get back on it. But what you were saying is I don't think Dune is as hard to read as people have made it out to be. I will agree though that when you sit down and read it, you have to pay attention. Otherwise, you can find yourself like scanning a whole page and not picking up on it. And you need to go back and reread it. So I just haven't been in the headspace where I can like sit down and like focus on what it is that's in front of me in the right way to give it the attention it deserves. So I need to get back on it. So I do want to go see Part 2. However, it's just I saw the first one, started reading the book, then I've been watching it again with Kathy and stuff, and it's been several weeks because Kathy keeps falling asleep during the movie. And let me tell you, dude, just damn, as good as the movie is, it just fucking blows in comparison to the book. Because like all this great, these really, 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 really good conversations happen between characters. You have these scenes where it's like so cool to see how characters are leaning, what they're thinking, what they're deciding. And the movie was like, what if we didn't have any of that in there at all? What?
Yeah,
Like
there's so much about how characters like factions, like the Bene Gesserit and the Space Guild or whatever, like how entire centuries and maybe more than that, and entire cultures of people seem to depend and are waiting on this kind of figure. And all the conversations, the way that their entire lives, the birthing that they give, like everything is staked on this eventual person. You don't get it at all in that first movie. Maybe
the
they talk about it.
talks about it once. They talk about where, because in the book they're like the Bene Gesserit have been on Arrakis for a long time, really seeding in that this dude is coming. There's literally like one line about it in the movie.
You really don't get that until the second movie. Like it really clicks.
And that's what I'm saying is like I'm kind of holding some of my criticism because I'm sure the second movie kind of comes behind and like answers some stuff, but there's definitely just so much stuff they left out. And again, that movie is way too long for the amount of nothing that happens. Where they could have easily put in so many of these really good scenes from the book, and it would have filled up that time frame and whatever. Now I understand Dune is a thick book. There's a lot that goes on. It's really hard to adapt. That's been covered a million times. There's been, they've tried a bunch and it hasn't really quite worked out so well. And I think everyone kind of agrees that this current iteration of it is the best adaptation so far.
Yeah.
But it just blows my mind how much they've just omitted and whatever, where I'm like, I just don't understand why you did that though. Like, I just genuinely don't. Like, and I after reading it, and this isn't even just because of how similar it is to Game of Thrones, but I just think Dune would have served so much better as like a TV series like that. Like, there's so much where it's like, if you really, really, I think the first movie is so long, not enough happens in that film. We could have easily put some of these amazing scenes in there and would have filled it up, and it would have been a full movie that I would have walked away from being like, good. That was a good 2.5 hour film with a lot that went on. Instead of like 2.5 hours, Jesus, like, when is this over?
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, when they started walking away in the movie, like the mom and son from the dream, I was like, okay, interesting. And then they're like, and now we're doing the whole bit with like this ruin. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more.
Yeah, you have about 40 minutes left in that movie.
And then they start fighting the Freemen in that like little encampment area, and like there's still more, and then it just ends. It just like, we're done. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a really. They're like, this is our white boy, and I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go? And we're done. I'm like,
and it's over. Yep.
Oh, okay.
100%. I think
white boy.
I literally think, like, again, because here's the thing, and this isn't a spoiler either. I'm not going to give any information away, but all of that. So Dune is about 800 pages, give or take. It's right on the cusp of 800. So that's literally like the first 500 pages of the book is the first movie. And so then I'm like, okay, so we've only got about 200 left, and I know a lot goes on and whatever. But here's the thing: it's just like, I like after reading it, and I'm past where the first movie ends now. But it's like, okay, I think it would have ended perfectly with the mom and the son kind of off in the desert, like right after their house fell, and then we pick up with everything involving the Fremen. Like, I think that would have just been the perfect introduction. The opening scene is Paul and his mom in that little tent in the desert. I think that would have been perfect. I don't know why we didn't do that. Oh my God. Like, I know a lot happens in the second part. Whatever.
Then make it a 3.5 hour movie.
These movies are too long and nothing happens in them. Okay?
Really,
like,
really nothing happens in the first one.
It just really makes me mad.
It was boring. It wasn't even that pretty at times. Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry. People talk about the shots. Where?
That's
shots
crazy.
kind of aren't there. Shots aren't there. You've done much better in Blade Runner. You had some shots in Blade Runner. Didn't have them here. But I will say, given the subject matter of the second Blade Runner movie, I think that he is a guy really well equipped to handle this story.
100%.
But so I'm curious how the second movie plays out. And I've heard that while it has what seems like a rather conclusion at the end of the second one, there is a lot of room for a third if they so choose to do it. So, which I think they are. So
yeah, well, I don't know. I keep hearing conflicting things on that because I keep hearing yes, Doom Messiah is happening, but then I hear other things from him.
It's all dependent on him.
Where he's like, look, if I can think of a way to make this happen, then so be it. Because from my understanding,
I think he'll find a way. I think he'll find a way to make that happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, from my understanding, though, the Messiah is where the first one ends with a big climax, with kind of like the whole beginning of the jihad and everything, and you kind of see that happening.
There's no way it's called jihad.
That's literally what it is. A holy war.
Like the real world.
Yeah.
Jihad.
Yeah.
Okay. A little. Okay.
And so, and the second one I think is very verbose. Like it's a lot of like dialogue heavy, where he's like, okay, but how can I really adapt that in a way that'll be like interesting? I guess especially following up the cinematic masterpiece that is Dune Part 2, where it's very has all these events going on. So.
I already thought the essentially Nazi symbol on their outfits were a little on the nose. You're gonna call them the okay. Anyway, didn't mean to get into a whole Dune discussion. I'll keep y'all updated on when I catch up to y'all. But y'all will probably finish by the time I get there. Rest of my week, what the F even happened? See, this is the thing. You get old and you do not remember anymore. What, Bryce?
Orchestra.
I did go to before that, Wednesday as well, before going to End of Evangelion, I actually had dinner with my cousins. One of my cousins lives here in Oklahoma City, but like way up north. Oklahoma City is absolutely huge. She lives way up north, so we never see each other. Not that we were even that close anyway, but the other two, who I'm, I guess, more close with, they came to visit from Tennessee. They're who I often go visit when I go back to Tennessee. They came to visit her for the Drake concert that happened here and for Oklahoma Thunder game. And so they came over for dinner. We had a nice time, cooked some food. So that was really nice. Good to see them again. They joked about moving here. And I'm like, how serious is that joke? Because maybe you should do that. So we'll see how it's there. Then, yes. Oh, I don't know if I've said this on stream yet. I am going to Japan in September for like 3 weeks. So y'all have to hold down the dead zone for it while that happens.
What, you aren't joining from stream from Japan? Dude, Ryan IRL stream in Japan?
It would be, the time difference, it'd be like 6 a.m. or something.
Okay.
Like Lily and I are going to Japan in September from the 9th through the 25th. Very excited for that. So my grandmother, the grandmother of these other cousins, so that side of the family, her stepdaughter apparently lives here in Oklahoma City. Didn't know that. Right before the Friday stream, and when I say right before, I mean right before, she calls me, and I didn't know who the number was, so I just pinged her on the phone. And she's like, hey, she told me that you're going to Japan. I was there for a while. I have a patient who I speak Japanese to, blah, blah, blah. So we had a nice conversation for a while. She actually, unrelated to any of this, was asking me, have you read Dune, by the way? You should read Dune. So we had a conversation with that. And then it turns out while we're having that conversation, we realized we both go to the symphony once a month. So she was going to be there on Saturday. So the next day, I go to the symphony. She goes to the symphony, which, by the way, was incredible. The first half was so incredible. Second half was kind of boring, but still very good. We met. She's like 65, so this is not like, I don't know what she had in your brain, but she is like not an old lady, but she is a lady. You know what I mean? So that was kind of weird because I'm like, you are older than me, MILF. And then we just like
Wait, did you
talked
say this
a little
girl
bit.
Was your cousin?
No, she's my grandmother's stepdaughter.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I didn't mean MILF because like
you passed. You're good.
That.
You're good. Yeah, I know.
No, because I meant that. Just because she's an older lady. Anyway, so did that on Saturday. Sunday was I hung out with Reed. We went to the gym. We did something else. I feel like I did something else on Sunday, but I don't remember. Josh and I had our Monday stream, which was so good. All of the games went so good.
Did you guys win?
All of them went so good. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Josh?
We won one.
Oh, okay.
And then yesterday, no stream yesterday because Bryce had wake.
And wake.
And I went to Reed's. We watched 3 more episodes of Breaking Bad. And then we had dinner, and it was a nice time. And now here we are.
Worm.
Josh? How was your week?
Man, my weeks are boring as hell. Compared to y'all, because currently we be unemployed. Trying to figure that out. So wish me luck, everybody. Everybody, cross your fingers, because I'm really trying here.
How many
Anyways,
applications are you putting in?
so 1,000,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's fine. It's
Just
fine.
get a computer science degree, bro.
Bruh,
Come on,
do
dude.
I look like I can do that? Remember when I keep asking y'all how to
Yes.
open up files? Yeah, anyways, so wish me luck on that, fellas. We be trying. So my weeks are not nearly as full as theirs because my weeks are I wake up and then I hope something cool happens that day and usually it doesn't, and then I go back to sleep. Mostly it's apply. Kathy comes home, we stream at night, and then I go to sleep, and then that's it. Anyways, so but interesting things that happened, as Ryan was saying, yes, End of Evangelion in theaters for the first time ever. I'm sure theaters have done kind of like their own little releases, but this is like the first official release of it in America ever. So it's been a dream ever since watching the movie for the first time to be able to see it on the big screen. There have been several times where I've looked into renting a theater just to play it so I could see it on the screen because I didn't know if I'd
actually
have this. Yeah, 100%.
Whoa.
Yeah. And whatever, just because I wanted to be able to experience it like this. And so finally happened. Very, very, very cool. What's funny is Ryan was talking about people that kind of see it for the first time, and Kathy did. We didn't watch the show prior to watching End of Evangelion.
I've been dating for 6 months and you've never showed her the show.
That's
it was
insane.
a plan. It was planned.
That's
we
actually crazy.
We really tried, but we just ran out of time in order to be able to do. I think we watched 2 episodes, and then just stuff kept happening. We got really busy with streaming and whatever, and we just didn't have the same amount of time as we used to like be able to do all that.
Are you worried that it just put Kathy off if you showed her like too early?
Well, no. I'm honest on my Ava, like straight up. I'll tell people immediately and whatever. I walk around with it plastered on my lanyard and everything.
That is true.
But yeah, it was Kathy's first time seeing it, and she hadn't experienced the rest of it and stuff. So prior to going, I was like, Kathy, here's a crash course of everything you need to know. And so it was like, I was like, I think I mentioned everything. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot this. And stuff like that. So I was like, man, I really hope she gets it. And yeah, she watched it and enjoyed it and got it. But there were also other people in the theater that were talking beforehand that were like, I don't even know what to expect. I think I heard it was real weird, but I've never seen anything Evangelion related before. And so I was kind of like, why are you here? Like I
had to preface read like, look, the first scene. You got
yeah.
Wait, is that the Shinji Asuka scene?
The come hand.
Yeah.
I have to time mine to come at the same time as him. I'm trying to get good at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. He's quick.
But quickest hand of the West.
It was like it was really okay. Seeing it in the theater was crazy because I don't know. Like again, like Ryan said, I've seen this movie so many times at this point that I was kind of like just expecting I was so excited to go see it in theaters, but I was like, okay, it's just gonna be like watching the movie again. I know everything that happens. Like any sort of the shock value is gone because I've just seen it so many times. Wow. Yeah, was I wrong? Like it was crazy seeing it in theaters. Like I forgot about not forgot about it, but like the brutality of Asuka's scene especially was like Jesus Christ. And like the energy in the theater was crazy because we were all just sitting there like and then so like yeah, when the movie ends, it just ends. Like, the credits happen midway through the movie, so there's no end credits or anything. So like when it gets to the last scene, which is already just so minimalistic and confusing, and then like it's just literally like the end, and then the lights came up, like everyone was just sitting there like like
yeah, I forgot about the mid credits because most digital versions you watch now, they don't have that in there anymore. Because it's really like your digest and reflect time.
Well, is that true? Because it's on Netflix. The Netflix one.
I don't know where I've watched it before, but yeah, typically in any times that I've watched it, I never see the credits anymore.
Sure.
Those mid-roll credits. But yeah, this series is one that's just full of so many details that you pick up on it and then you forget that you picked up on it before. So like, I feel like I'm rediscovering the same thing over and over again. So like this time so maybe I've already recognized this before and I forgot, but when she's in the hospital she's got a drip bag of LCL,
Yeah.
and I always forget about that. And then every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you're supposed to know about blah 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 for the rebuilds. And I just forget about it every time, and then I like remember it every time. But that's like it's nifty to always get that little reminder there. Reed didn't say anything about the Masato kissing part, so I don't know if he had any opinions on.
Oh my gosh.
Her,
Well, okay. So the thing is when it comes to the Masato kissing scene, like that's one. Okay, I say this about anything, like pretty much anything in Evangelion, anything weird, I can explain away, and that includes Masato kissing scene. When it comes to Shinji come hand scene, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. That was just a weird. I don't know what to tell you. Like that's the one.
I'm just so glad it's there.
Like that's the one moment where I'm like, you know what, like. Couldn't tell you. Like here's what they were going for. They could have done it in a different way. So I don't know why. I don't know what to tell you. When it comes to Masato kissing scene, like I can explain that away all day, every day, and I will even fight people on that. And so when I watched that movie with my mom, I was like, dude, fuck, here we go. I was like, this is about to be crazy. And luckily we watched it, and she was like, no, I fully get it because that's this. And I was like, thank you for the smidgen of media literacy this scene requires to be able to just take it for what it is.
What I will say about it though is, I guess I forgot, or maybe like watching it with somebody and like being hyper aware of like, oh, what will they think about this? How long it goes on for.
Yeah.
I never felt the length before. Like it's like 20 seconds. Like it's so long that she's there kissing that boy. Like, whoa.
Well, like, did she need to slip him tongue? Because like that's what's crazy.
I thought it was weird. She was like, no. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, like it is crazy. It is crazy. But and you know what? I will say that scene more than any other is just damaging to her character as a whole. Like she'll just never escape those allegations, which is very unfortunate. Because like I genuinely detest when I meet people who are like Masato's a predator. She just isn't. And Masato is the best character in that fucking series by a mile. And like, here's the long ass list of reasons, and like, it is so unfortunate that scene has just done irreparable damage to how people perceive her character. Because like, are you just?
Yeah, we talk a lot about how Ava sets so many standards for anime moving forward. I think anime failed in replicating Masato. Mm-hmm. They replicated just one side of her all the time. Her entire message is
Save the
I
world.
have my own agency as a woman. Like I can be both sexual and whatever else because I own it. It's like completely my own and I choose what to give out, what to keep, and like, you know, but everything else in anime is just like I'm physically strong and a whore. You know, like it's like that's not the same thing. Reed was really like he liked her a lot because he made a great like revelation for a first time watcher. Not that it's like profound revelation. It's just like it was great to hear him say it of like the way that she'll switch. Like the second that she's in command as like her job, she's a totally different person. Like yeah, because she's got that depth that other anime has not run with. It's very disappointing. Well, I think like, a lot of people take what they've seen in anime today or since Ava, now they're going to watch an older show and being like, oh, I recognize that character. It's the slut. Like, no, it's not the slut. It's like, it's
more than that.
Thank you very much.
I think that like, when it comes to Masato is like, she is the best character in that series because the whole thing is like, you know, how are you supposed to deal with the weight of the expectations? You know, like obviously it's blown out of proportion. Like how you're supposed to save the world if you're 14 years old, no one's ever told you they love you, and you're mentally deficient in like every way you should possibly be. Masato is like that character, but put in an adult setting of like, how are you supposed to handle all this responsibility if you've got all this stuff going on at the same time? What I love about Masato is like she always rises to the occasion. You know, it's like regardless of whatever she's got going on in her personal life, because especially at the end of the series, she's got a lot going on there. But like she always puts that aside and rises to the occasion, especially when it comes to, you know, making sure those kids are either one doing what they need to be to like save the world or are okay and stuff. And it makes me sad that like immediately after she kisses Shinji and she's laying there dying, she even asked the question, like, did I just do the right thing? Like, was that even the right thing? And people like overlook that, and it's like, dude, she didn't kiss him because she's got the hots for him. She didn't kiss him because she's like, I'm gonna bone this boy. Like, it was like, is this my last ditch ever to get this dude fucking going? Like he's not doing anything. Like, will this be what gets him to move? And like, you can, if you want to look at that and be like, well, that's crappy writing, she could have done something else. I don't like, whatever. Like, fine, sure, whatever. But she's not kissing him because she's interested in him. She's trying to get him to move. And it's like, she could slap him. Would that shock him out of it? Or would that just like put him deeper in the hole? Stuff like that. Like, is showing him affection kind of in a way slapping him in the face of like getting him to wake up when he thinks he's this awful person? If someone shows him that they care for him, even if it's like in a base level form like she's presenting, will that be what like shakes him out of this little episode he's having and stuff? And she even has to ask herself, and Kaji, her dead lover and stuff, like, was that right? Like, was that okay, I guess, and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think Masato is just the best character. I think she's wonderful, and I would say her only flaw is being written by a man. But even then, like, the way she's written, you can tell there's great care with like how she's presented and stuff like that. I think there's from a man's understanding of a woman's issues and stuff like that. But I don't think it's done irreverently. I think Masato again is just through and through written so well and is far and away just the best character in that whole series.
I think she's a self-insert of the mother that he wanted.
Absolutely.
But I think that kiss is actually much more than getting him to move. I think that kiss is the entire point of the movie, and the entire point of Ava, because when you talk about the fields, fields, and at the end of the movie, I think in that moment, she knows what the Instrumentality Project is. She's reminding him there is love in this world, and this is what it feels like to a minor degree. And whether or not this is platonic or romantic doesn't matter, because this is just what love feels like, and it feels good. And it can be physical, it can be romantic, it can be just friendly. It doesn't matter. This is what love is. She literally says to him, like, there's more waiting for you to get back. Like, yes, it's a sly nod to like, maybe I'll actually give. No, it's about like, when everything's done and said and you've done what you need to do, there's more love for you in this world. Like, don't forget that. And right. I don't think without that kiss, that not only would he not move forward, but he wouldn't have made the decision that he did in the end by like saving everybody. The entire like last 10 minutes when he's making the decision, he has a conversation that says, and even when he looks through it through Masato's eyes, when he's watching the scene of her and Kaji in bed, and he's like understanding, like, this is how some people show affection. This is kind of, to a degree, like a part that she gave to me, and now I'm learning the different ways that people can affect with one another. And he says, like, do we want to bring the flesh walls back up? And it like, yes, because it's okay, because there are ways to connect with one another through that barrier, through even the touching of that flesh, that is intimate, yet it's just love and it feels good. And you don't have to be inside of each other in order to understand one another, because that is an understanding. That is human. That's what it means to be human. That's what it's been for all these thousands of years. That's what it must continue to be. So I think that kiss is to absolutely represent that. It's to teach Shinji, because there's obviously argument of like, maybe he had sex with Asuka before. I don't think he did. People think he did. They had their kiss, but it wasn't one out of affection. It was one out of curiosity, right? So to have this one to be finally taught that lesson of love, to be finally taught that lesson of vulnerability, of someone giving you something, of someone showing you affection, without that final lesson to him, he would not have made that decision in the end. So it was absolutely critical not only to get him to move, but to remind him that even with those walls up, you can still connect with one another, and in ways that maybe you wouldn't have expected to before. So there is something to come back to. And that's more love in this world, spread by people that maybe you didn't always expect to spread it to each other. And also because they're the porcupines, right? They make that, or the hedgehogs. They're the hedgehogs in this world, and yet here they are embracing. And it is possible. That's another reminder as well, that she's telling him, like, this is possible even for people like us.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I do not have enough I could say about Masato as a character. I think she's awesome. And that's one of the things I was most happy with, is my mom just fully got her. when we watched and whatever. And she fully got the point of Ava, which I was really happy about because I didn't think like not to be like, oh, Ava's so complex or whatever. Like it's not that. It's just I thought she would be put off by like several of the series' weird little things. Because as an Ava fan, I'll admit there's plenty. There's several moments where it's like, okay, well that was a little weird. Let's keep her moving though, or whatever. I also think that Ava, to fully like and fully appreciate, I understand that it kind of takes a little bit of legwork. Like it asks the viewer to do a lot to kind of fully get it. Now, you don't have to do all that. You can just like it for aesthetic reasons, or you can be like, what a trip. I don't know what the hell that was, but how fun was that? I've met people that like it for that, for its weirdness, and don't really dive into what any of it really means. But for me, that's like what makes it stick out is that Evangelion is like not as fun to watch as something like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen. It doesn't move like that. Like when you watch it, I'll fully say that there's shows that are way more fun to watch than Evangelion is, as much as I like it. But what I like about Evangelion is how imperfect it is. Like it sucks. Like when you really think about it narratively, it's like
you got that right.
Dude didn't know what he was doing. Like it was like written episode to episode. He had no plan, and then it shifts tone. A couple different times throughout.
When he goes into therapy, it's a totally different show.
Yeah, it's completely different. And what I like about it is that leaves you with a product that's imperfect. It's something that is disjointed and whatever. But at the same time, the show started like writing itself practically. Like it kind of like almost became the writer and the pen at the same time. And Anno was just kind of like, I don't know, the medium in which Evangelion was channeling itself through. It kind of writes itself, and I think that like really is telling of what Evangelion is trying to convey, is what it's trying to show you. There's that conversation at the end of Evangelion where it's showing all those live action thoughts and whatever, and that's when I think the series really tells you what it is Shinji's talking to Masato, Rei, and Asuka and whatever, and they say like, to escape the pain of reality, you built this world that was all your own. And then he was like, well, what's wrong with that? And they're like, well, dreams can never be like what reality is or whatever. And that's when it becomes very clear that the whole time Evangelion has been the story of this dude, Anno, his life and his battle with this, and him creating Ava was him kind of escaping from his issues. He became kind of a workaholic and whatever. He was burnt out after doing I can't remember what it was called, whatever, of the Blue Water, which was the show he had done right before this, and went right into Ava, like burnt out as fuck, didn't take any time to like figure out what was going on in his life, and it kind of came out as he was making the show, and it became this thing of like, oh, I've been running away from everything. I've been throwing myself into this. I made this to run away from what I was dealing with, and then it kind of ended up explaining what it was that I was going through. And I think it's Ava's imperfection that, in my eyes, makes it perfect. Like it's like you would be hard pressed to find a more human story than Evangelion. There's several things have tried to replicate it. None of it has ever done it the same way, because even when he tried to kind of like redo it in the rebuilds, even though he was kind of going for something else, I think it's telling in the last one, especially kind of when you have to redo, the third impact and everything. It's not going to be as impactful as it was in End of Evangelion, because you just can't recreate it. You just can't. It's something that he couldn't even create when he tried to. It had to create itself. So anything that's tried to replicate it or do similar things and stuff, it just can't do it. You're trying, and that's what makes Ava special is, there was no thought. There was no like predetermined outcome kind of. It became what it was kind of its own volition. And that's what continues to blow me away by it, and why it really sticks with me is, yes, it's not the most fun to watch. It's not, the flashiest thing, but it's just this work of art that is like it's just unparalleled. There's no other experience like it. And, should you take the time to understand it and understand what was going on behind the scenes, that's when you get the full picture of it. You can enjoy Ava without knowing that. But understanding everything that happened behind the scenes is where you see the whole picture of what this thing is. And it's this like crazy thing where it's like the medium of like art and real life like has almost never been that like conjoined. I would say is like it's wild, 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 and yeah, I've seen the show through I don't know 4 or 5 times now maybe. I've seen End of Evangelion more times than that, and going to see it in the theater, I didn't know if it was just going to be watching the movie again. It was something that I couldn't have really ever thought it would be. I don't think I could have told you that the experience I had in the theater was going to be what it was. Maybe that was because people were there, and just kind of like the gravity of certain things was more present because there were other people in the room. I think that when there was a lot of voices talking, like I talked about it before, but it was like it sounded like they were coming from all around the theater. Like at one point, it was funny that Kathy said this because I had this exact same thought verbatim, where she was talking about, she was like, "Yeah, the sound was really weird." It sounded at one point she was like, "Who is speaking fluent Japanese like right behind my left shoulder?" And that's exactly what it felt like. At one point, someone was talking. It's like, "Who the fuck's back here talking in fluent Japanese?" It was weird. It was like, yeah, it was crazy. It was so fun. It was wild. It's leaving the theater was crazy because it wasn't like, remember how fun that was? It was like leaving the theater is like, damn. Like I've never understood.
Mine was packed too.
Yeah, same. I never understood the people that were like, I watched this movie and got depression or whatever. I was always like, what are you talking about? Like I've never gotten that. However, seeing it this time, I didn't get depressed because I saw the movie or anything, but that was the closest I've ever come to understanding that, where I was like, damn, that is a tough watch. That is a tough watch. And seeing the theaters, I was like, that was fucking rough. It was good. It was real good.
I think the best way to separate Ava, the show, and Evangelion from the rebuilds, and I think looking at it through these lenses helped me, not that I didn't like the rebuilds, I did like the rebuilds, but to appreciate them more as like their own narrative piece, is the show and the movie are about your mom, and the rebuilds are about your dad. And I think looking at it through that lens, like especially now having watched the show again, watched the NBA again, and like only looking at it through the lens of like, this is about your mom, and every little piece about it is about your mother, about maybe the most human comfort we can find is that either you're going to die or go back to the womb. And like maybe the place we've only ever felt the most safe, the most comfortable was back in that womb. Because that's really what that is, right? That's what this Reptile Project is all of us returning to that one place we knew we all came from. There's no question about it. Except for the one person who we're returning to, which is Ray. And then the rebuilds, there's so much about your dad that like you get the crazy dad lore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't know your dad. Like Bryce, I promise you don't know your dad. Josh, you probably know your dad more than Bryce and I do. But getting that dad lore sometimes is so weird. It's like, what do you mean you went to college for 6 months? Like,
well, okay. My dad went to culinary school.
Yeah. See, it's like, what are you talking about?
Dad lore.
Dad lore is crazy. And that's what the rebuilds come down to. It's like, what do you mean that maybe you're that boy from the moon?
Yeah.
I'm not? Like, what's that about, dad lore? Like now, Josh, we've been lucky because we have been standing on the shoulders of giants understanding Ava to the extent we have because of the people that came the 20 years before us to understand Ava. Now we must be said giants for Rebuild 3 and 4. To try to pick those apart and say, what in the world do these mean? Especially that twink. Like, what is going on?
The one time I tried to do that, I got called a pedophile. So I'm done being the giants. Okay, I was chopped down and I fell hard. Okay.
True. All right.
I need to make this clear for stream. I said nothing that would allude to this.
Okay.
Ava's
I just
done?
need to make this clear.
Real?
Ava's done. I have a question for you boys.
Okay.
What is something coming up? Show, movie, book, video game, whatever. Bryce, I bet you're going to give me an answer. Something I've never heard in my life before. It's a game I've never heard in my life. What is something coming up that you're looking forward to? Mine is, and this, Josh, this is what I was about to say to you before the stream, and then I was like, let me hold it off and talk about stream. I'm really excited for the Fallout show. I think it looks really good. I don't trust Amazon, but the show, the trailers, the casting, the special effects, the practical effects, I think they look really good. I'm excited to watch it. I love Fallout. They've got a lot of great material to work with. I think even just the sets alone, like if you do that well, you've made a good show. So that I'm very excited for. Bryce, what about you? What's the video game I've never heard of?
I honestly don't have an answer.
Really not an answer at all?
I have nothing as of right now other than maybe the Elden Ring DLC.
Well, then that's your answer. Like, what are you talking about?
I guess like Elden Ring DLC, and then and then that's really it. That's really it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I asked for one, and you stumbled to give me one, and we're done. Okay.
Whoa. They got in trouble.
I am very much looking forward to it, but I'm not like the only reason I'm like really looking forward to is the when we're gonna stream the DLC or like us playing it together. That's what I'm most excited about.
2 years from now.
Yeah. It's just like being able to explore the world, like all three of us not know what's going on. I think that's gonna be really fun. I think it's gonna also show that Josh really is gonna do his own thing. he's gonna Miles Morales that shit, and he's gonna be off.
Speaking of Miles Morales, did y'all watch the little?
I have not watched the short.
They released today.
No, I need to.
I didn't watch it, but Josh, what are you excited for?
21 Pilots album. 21 Pilots album.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait to hear everything and keep getting excited every time a new single comes out. And just always very excited to hear kind of what the entire sound is, rather than just the snippets. But I had something else to say before that though.
Well, while you think about that, Aaron, you're wrong because Bryce decided to raid
Miss Shelby again.
Miss Shelby again. We had 3 people. That was what, Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
And then after our Monday streams, we're just so emotionally beat. We're like, we're done. We're gone.
Yeah, I gotta get off stream or I'm gonna like hurt myself live. Yeah, it's just rough.
We'll do it again today after we're done here.
Oh man, I know there's something else coming out that I was like, oh, this is exciting. Oh, dang it. Oh, I don't know this is what I was thinking of, but Demon Slayer, next season 4. Very excited for that. I don't know if that's what I was thinking of originally though. But I'm excited.
I'm curious if y'all are the same way. I'll get so excited for something coming out. Like I was so excited for Oxenfree 2 to come out. It came out. I bought it. Haven't touched it.
Yeah, I do that.
Not because I don't want to. I want to play it so bad, but I feel like I owe it to games that I've played longer, that I've been waiting to play longer to play first before I get to it. You know, like that's what I'm doing. Sword. Like I played Bug Fables for a while, and I will continue to play it, but I wanted to play Sword for a while instead. But yeah, eventually I'll get to you, Oxenfree 2. I was so excited for you. And yeah, we were waiting a moment.
Well, I hate when I like kind of fall off something that I've been really enjoying. Like I don't think I've like sat down and like played something myself on my own for a while, and like crucify me, but I was playing Genshin. I really liked it. I was having a lot of fun playing Genshin. And I haven't played it in a minute. I don't know. I've just been like too busy, and
that's your self-conscious actually trying to save you.
No.
You want to know what I think it is?
What's up?
I think those dailies kill your interest.
Well,
the second you feel like you have to come on, though,
dude,
but you get that notification, you feel like you have to come on and do it. That kills me immediately. Like same thing with like learning a language. If I get like a Duolingo thing, I'm like, I'm done with it. Like I don't want to. Like now it feels like a chore. I was doing this for fun, and now all of a sudden it's a chore. It's a job. I don't want to do that no more.
Well, I think really what it is, and like I think it was when we started streaming more, and stuff. And again, that's not I like doing it. I like our little schedule. It's fun. It makes you feel like I actually have something. I think that's what it was. Is because as much as I like streaming more, it is like something I have to devote my evenings to, and stuff like that. I have less time in the day, and I'm not an early riser either. Like I'm a night owl, so like a lot of my day is gone, and then I have like an hour to do something, and then I'm on stream and stuff like that. So it's kind of taken away my time to do Genshin. I haven't have as much time to like focus on Dune or whatever, and that's not not speaking ill about streaming as much as we do and stuff. But I think like that taking up such a big chunk of time has kind of cut into other things like that, like or whatever.
Yeah, and don't forget, you also been in Skyrim. Just to make
I
you
did
feel
a ban
bad.
of Skyrim, and yeah, that's the thing is like that makes me sad too because it wasn't like an abandonment. Like I still think about it and I'm excited to get back to it, but it's just the energy, which sounds stupid, right? It's a
No,
video
I
game,
totally,
like and
yeah,
stuff like that, but
yeah.
it's just like kind of the energy and like there's only so many hours in a day, so like what am I gonna with my free time? What am I gonna devote that to? And stuff, which still trying to figure that out, but I'm sure I'll get back to Genshin. I'll get back to Skyrim and stuff sometime soon, hopefully, because I really like both those things.
It really is crazy. Like, I'll take a moment and step back and think of all the different, like, just video games that right now I'm digesting in some way. Like, we're playing Elden Ring. I'm watching the Beer Bros play Elden Ring. I'm watching them play Crash 4. I'm watching a Let's Play of Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. I'm watching a Let's Play of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm watching a Let's Play of Signalis. I'm playing Pokemon Sword. I'm playing Bug Fables. We're playing League every Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm missing... Oh, I'm watching a Let's Play Baldur's Gate 3. What else? Like, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of other things. But that's just video games that I'm, like, microdosing.
Yeah.
You know? And then I get
Yeah.
stressed out. I'm like, oh, what should I... Like, I've got my YouTube watch later. Like, Jesse Cox has been blazing through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I've got literally like 40 hours to watch saved up right now. And I'm like, well, I could do that. Or I've only got one episode of Ace Attorney to watch. Maybe I should just knock that out instead because it's only 40 minutes long. And of course, I watch everything on my double speed, because I'm insane. So, yeah, I get it. So really, Dead Zone has been eating up, like, gratefully. I'm grateful it's eating up time, but it does eat so much time. Like, literally, it's work from 8 to 4, and then if it's Monday or Friday, we have to get on at 5, so I've got an hour in between. And then if it's one of the other 3 days, like, I've got Thursdays off, but then that's the days I hang out with Reed now, so, and that's fine, but like, that's my scheduled thing to do them. Really, I've got like an hour, 2 hours maybe of like free time to really sit down and like engage with the thing that I want to. And then thankfully we're watching Sopranos after a lot of our streams, which is going to take us forever to get through.
It's going to take so long.
Oh my gosh, literally so long. We're not even done with season 1.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
We've got 2 episodes left of season 1.
2 episodes left, and we're cramming that out tonight anyways.
Yeah,
get on tonight.
You're right.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Why not?
Kathy cooked dinner.
Kathy,
sit down and
watch
eat
with him.
Yeah. Yes, catch her up. You did it with Ava. You can do it with Sopranos.
She sat down and watched one episode, or she didn't. She wasn't like sitting there watching it with us. No. Like, we were watching something, and she was like, "I don't know if I really like that show." Or whatever, and I was like, yeah, well,
Kathy, what'd you think about Ava? What did Kathy think of Ava?
I think if you sit down and just watch an episode of Sopranos, you're gonna be like, yeah, what in the world? No, it's about like the relationship you as an audience build with the character. And I know that most shows are like that, but with a show like Sopranos, it's very different. I think like you're gonna watch an episode of Sopranos and be like, oh, I hate Tony. What an awful person.
That is crazy.
You watch Sopranos and you're like, man, I want to give him every benefit of the doubt. I want to go to jail for Tony. Like, it's crazy. So
go to jail for Tony. Put it on a shirt.
I agree. Like I think that's like, I know we talked about it and it was like, oh, Tony's a bad person and stuff like that. And like, sure, yeah, but like there's obviously like more to him than that. And stuff, which I like, so I'm excited.
There obviously is depth to Tony without a shadow of a doubt, but just to make it very clear to you, Tony is a bad person.
Yeah, he is, but like, there's more to him than that.
Like there's no like, oh, but maybe he has good insight. Like, no, he's a bad guy of the show. there's no doubt about it. But yes, obviously he has depth to him. He loves his family, blah blah blah. But no, he's the bad guy. That's what that one episode of where he killed that guy. Like, the creator's like, no, that was supposed to show you, don't empathize with this guy. He's gonna make you empathize with him, but don't do it because he's a bad guy.
Right. Very, very Dune of Sopranos.
Very Dune of Sopranos. Wow.
Just tying those two things together. We'll get an Ava one in there too.
Yeah, might as well throw that in there somewhere.
Yeah, gonna tie Dune
Talk
and
about
Ava
a
together
dad
real quick.
Reference.
I think Ritsuka is a more interesting character than Masato.
I think Yeah. All right. I'm gonna save Bryce from this. We just talked about Ava for like an hour. I
I
think it's
think
only.
to be,
That's
I
fine.
think to be
You
an
know, I
actual
expected this.
genius.
I want you
I
guys
think
to
to
get it out of
be
your
an
system.
actual intellectual genius and still fall faulty to the folly of love and lust to bring everything you've built down is so interesting. Like, imagine being so smart, but still you fall victim to manipulation. You still fall victim to love because you in that situation feel as though a victim. Like, I think that's so interesting. I wish that she had more screen time. Anyway, that's my little point.
I like Ritsuko a lot. I agree. I think her character is awesome. I like that concept and stuff. I also like that again. She was designed to be like the sex appeal character. Like
That's
she was
so
designed
funny,
to be
dude.
the one that everyone was
In the 90s,
wow,
absolutely.
wow.
In the 90s, that was it. She's animated Carmela. Like, that's what she
Right.
is.
And so like everyone was she was designed to be that character, and even then Masato overshadowed her, which is very fitting for Ritsuko's character, which is always meant to be one thing and is always getting overshadowed by everything else. And so
Well, I guess I'm just like the realist guy.
I think her character is really good. I like Masato better, but I think that Ritsuko's character and like what she was supposed to represent and what she ended up becoming, and and that mirroring what she represents is so good. And yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The concept of kind of like you can be this thing and build everything up, and then you can throw it away for selfish gain that doesn't pan out. And then you're left with
like,
nothing. Just wonderful. And also I like this detail about Evangelion a lot. I like in the series she only wears her makeup when Gendo's around, and if he's out of town on a trip, she doesn't have any makeup on. Asuka wears Misato's clothes, like her yellow sleep shirt and stuff, when Misato's away and whatever, as a way of enticing Shinji. And so, like, what cool little details that they never like. Are like, I'm wearing Misato's shirt, or I'm not wearing makeup because Gendo's not here. But they're just like cool little details that are so. Oh, they're so
I would argue
rich for
it's
character.
not to entice Shinji though. It's just because she wants to feel like an adult.
I think there's an argument to be made for both. I mean, one, again, it's not explicitly stated why she's wearing it, and I think it can be done for either. I think whether it's to entice Shinji or because she wants to feel like an adult, and like even just has like an admiration and respect for Masato that she's not going to show her and stuff. I think both are equally valid and both are equally as interesting.
And then Ray just doesn't show up.
Yeah, Ray doesn't show up because he forgot about it. But yeah, just Rich. Anyways, Bryce, I promise I'm trying to steer away from Ava for you.
Hey, I want you guys to get it out of your system so I don't have to hear a goddamn thing for the next month.
If you wanted to get out of my system, dude, you need to go back in time and make sure I never ever see it. And you have to go back to when I was like 10 years old, dude. You have to go back.
When did you really get hit with the Ava pill?
Okay, so
when it came out on Netflix.
When it came out on Netflix,
it was like while we were working at the restaurant, right?
Yeah, because what had happened is way back when I was like 9 or 10 or something, and I was watching. I think I was like watching like Death Note, and I don't know, One Piece, and I can't remember what else. Because like my brother and I would sit there on the family computer, and this is back when like Hulu was free and was the only place to watch anime. They had like every anime ever, so we would just sit there.
Family Guy, you watching Hulu?
Yeah, so we would sit there and watch anime and all this stuff on Hulu, and it was fire. And so we were watching Death Note and stuff, and so I think I was on YouTube or whatever, and I was like, I don't know what I was looking up, like anime stuff. I was just looking at anime stuff, and so I saw like in my YouTube recommended, I watched all of these things, and there were 3 of them. It was Asuka's death and End of Evangelion. It was the third impact and End of Evangelion, and then the scene from the show where Unit 1 goes berserk and eats the angel.
Yeah.
And
I mean, those unrivalably go hard. Like, that goes hard.
Right. And so I'm sitting there at like 9, 10 years old, like, oh my god, this is horrifying. Like, I was like, what the hell? And I was like, wait, I thought anime was fun and cool. Like, what the hell is that? But like, and I think even at the time I was like, what is this? Like, what is this from? And I looked it up and like got a Wikipedia article for the End of Evangelion. and I didn't read it through or anything. I think I like wasn't understanding because I think I tried reading it. It was like LCL and the third impact, and I was like, what? What are we talking about? And I don't know why in my brain I couldn't get it through my head that you watch the show first, and the end of Evangelion is the movie that comes after, and the end of Evangelion means it comes at the end. I was like, well, it's a movie. It's a movie, so you can just watch it whenever you want, surely.
Well, I get it because, like, growing up, we'd have shows like Jimmy Neutron, where they
Right.
made a movie, and they were like, oh, we're going to make a show after because the movie was successful.
Right.
You know?
Was
Right.
that actually
so
Jimmy
it
Neutron?
kind of,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah,
but
the egg people.
Yeah. But it just like didn't make any sense to me, and so I didn't like, I don't know, I didn't look into it anymore. I was just like, that was horrifying, but it like stuck with me, like all through the years and stuff. Like I would be like, that remember that horrifying thing I watched that one time? That was scary. And so then when it was like Netflix got the rights to it, which was a big deal because again, the only distribution Ava had ever received was I think it played on Toonami once,
Yeah.
and then it was released on DVD twice. And that was way back in like 2000, and that was it. No more. If you wanted to watch Evangelion, should have watched it on Toonami, should have bought those DVDs. Otherwise, you're not seeing it unless you're watching it like you're pirating it or something. So when it was like a big deal that Netflix got the rights to it. It was the first time it was going to be distributed in the US in forever. And so I was like, what? That's that thing. That's that thing with those scary images that I saw from way back in the day. I guess let's watch this and see what's going on. And yeah, watching it was like, what the hell did I even see? And then that began the whole deep dive into everything. So if I had never been traumatized as a boy, I wouldn't have ended up where I am today. Would I have seen it? Probably, but I don't know if it would have necessarily, because it was like seeing all these things like, what the hell was that? When I was a kid, and then like now I can put context to this, and even when I got context, it was still, what the hell was that? And then like trying to understand everything is where I really became, yes, Ava pilled.
I had seen some Polygon article where they were talking about how the final rebuild movie was finally talking about coming out, which is crazy because it wasn't like until like 5 years later they finally did, 4 years, whatever. So I'd seen that Polygon article, and then they had like announced the show coming to Netflix, and so like Josh and I watched it like at the same time. So Josh, I think you probably would have seen it if you hadn't watched it, because I'd probably been like, hey, watch the show. Instead we were just like kind of watched it independently.
I think I would have seen it eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would have been as
impactful.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think I would have liked it. Like, I think I might have done the research and whatever, but I think a big thing was scratching the itch of something that began when I was younger, and then finally be able to put context to this thing was a big part in, trying to understand it and, getting as involved with it as I ended up becoming. Whatever, but yeah, that was really cool. It was a fun experience, and I always really enjoy things like that. I enjoy things that I can like dive into and spend a lot of time understanding and unraveling and stuff like that. And I really have yet to kind of find something as intricate as that to do. I've had a couple since then or whatever, but I just, that was about 2 years of work of like after watching it and then doing all this research, and I ended up writing that essay for college about it and stuff. Like, there was a lot of time spent scrubbing forums and even if it was like I already had a fundamental understanding, just trying to figure out what everyone else thought of it and whatever, because Evangelion is so up to your interpretation. There's obviously kind of a form to follow that's like, I guess, a correct way, but Ano himself has said, like, I'm not explaining this to you. Like, I'm never going to release a tell-all that's here's all the details of what I'm thinking. So a lot of it is up to your interpretation of it, and I love, like, what did you think of this? Like, what did you think that meant and stuff? So a lot of that helped in my shaping.
It's always nice whenever creators give the audience like actually have an intelligence, like where they don't like just feed you every lick of information. That is nice.
Josh, when you finally bite the Xenoblade bullet, you'll have that moment again. Don't worry.
True. That is true. I'm looking at it right now. It's sitting on my shelf, and I can't wait to get to it.
You'll have a lot more content even to dive into.
That's true.
You've got 500 hours worth of game to play.
Oh my god.
That doesn't even include Xenoblade Chronicles X.
I'll get to it.
How much of when completing that game, how much of it was felt like a chore?
None.
Really?
Well, I was gonna say, like, because here's the other thing: is that doesn't mean that the game is bad or that your enjoyment of the game is any less. But like, even with some of my favorite games, like there are parts that I'm like, okay, this is a little grindy, and like I didn't necessarily enjoy that. It doesn't mean it's not my favorite game. But if there's none of that for you, then great. But I am curious. Yeah.
The biggest chore that I felt is a personal flaw, because I can't help but not move on from an area until I know I've done everything, because I get so worried that the story is going to lock me out of somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if Xenoblade works that way, but I just assume that every game does. Mm. So I'm a big map fill-inner. And most of the Xenoblade games will work based on like their map will fill in based on where you visited. When I played through the first game the first time myself, I had watched Chaka Conroy play through it, but when I decided to play for myself when the definitive edition came out, I thought that you actually had to physically walk everywhere to get the map to fill in. When you get to Aerith Sea, which is the area where the High Intia have their like floating castle, mm-hmm. I swam that entire sea.
Oh my god! Wait, I remember you saying something.
Trying to
yeah.
I realized later that you can just visit every map location, every named location. When you do that, it fills the map.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I
cannot believe that is insane. Because like I do that same thing. Like whenever I see like in a Ubisoft game or whatever, they'll have like that the tower that you do that fills in the map with all the locations and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh my god, to spend that much time, holy shit.
Yeah, and I was doing that for every area up until Aerith Sea. Like I finished that and then I realized like you don't have to do it that way. So that mistake on my part felt like a chore. But even then, like Xenoblade 2 is probably the best example, because when you get to its first like big world, because it's made up of many smaller worlds, but when you get to its first big world, mm-hmm. you have a lot of options of where to go. The story is obviously pushing you one way, but you have all the Xenoblades are like, hey, you have an open field, you can go wherever, but the stronger enemies are probably going to block you out. And that's kind of our way of telling you like, yes, you can go here, but maybe don't go here yet, which a lot of games do, but that's Xenoblade's way of doing it. Well, because I'm stubborn, I still want to fill in that map, Mm-hmm. So I will like skirt around those enemies, or I will remember to come back here and like, I always accidentally over level, right? Because I want to fight like everything, Mm-hmm. Not that even I want to, but like I feel like I have to, because I just feel so compulsive while playing a video game. So the second I'm leveled enough, high enough, I will stop what I'm doing and I'll go back. I will backtrack to go make sure I'm not missing anything. It's as a player with that playstyle, which is just only my fault. I'm always interrupting my enjoyment of a game by going back and doing whatever to make sure I didn't miss anything, So that's when I talk about my like getting overwhelmed during an open world game. That's oftentimes like that sort of mindset of just I'm like I can't miss anything. So that's a chore, but that's a personal flaw. You don't have to do that. You very much don't have to do that.
I wonder where that comes from, where you feel like you need to like complete everything.
I don't know, and it's not even that I need to complete everything. Like I'm not doing all the I'll do every side quest. If there's a side quest to do, I'll do it. But like in Xenoblade 2, you have like over 100 blades to choose from, which are like your recruited party members, is kind of a way to put it. You can only have 3 active ones at a time. I'm remembering this right. And then you can in battle switch between 3 per character, and you have 3 active characters going at a time. So in the party, you can kind of only have 9 at a time. but there's like over 100 that you can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
There is a cat under my floorboards right now, like in the crawl space of my home.
Whoa.
They go in there. Sometimes I can feel it under me. Sometimes it's really cold. They do that. Anyway, there's like, I didn't get all of them. I'm not doing all that because it's actually based on a gacha system. You get these core crystals and you unlock them, and there's a whole like math thing to it.
That's kind of cool. I'm not sure that adds a lot of replayability.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like Pokemon, there's ones that are like obviously good.
Yeah.
But then there's ones that like, it just depends on how you use them, and because you can also customize all their moves and everything. So yeah, a lot of replayability with that. It's funny, like I played it and then I watched Chuck Conrad do his Let's Play, and he'll talk about the ones that I play with. He's like, yeah, these are the worst ones. And I'm like, yeah, I had fun. He wasn't criticizing them. I was just like, man, I wonder if I would have played it better. Like I wonder if I would have had a better time if I played ones that were better.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm not getting all those, but the thing is, I kind of wish I did because they all have their own side quest. Each blade has its own like in-depth storyline side quest. So thankfully, I like watched it so I could get all of them. But in Xenoblade 3, they kind of do the same thing where you get like a 7th party member who are like these recruitment people, but there's only like, I don't know, 30 of them or something, if even. Probably way less than that. That one I did do all of them because you kind of come across them as the story goes on. I don't even think you can miss any of them. And then I did do all of their stuff. So some people might consider that a chore, but again, it's optional stuff. You don't have to do it. But as someone who plays games that way, like T7 said, like that's how I choose to enjoy playing my games. I don't know how much I'm getting enjoyment out of it, more just like satisfying my compulsion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, since that's my play style, it can be a chore to me, but in the same way, it's like how I feel satisfied finishing a game. So, but you don't have to play it that way. Sure. To very briefly answer your question.
Well, boys, we've hit the 2-hour mark. Would we like to end it, or would we like to continue?
I think we've hit a natural end.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
What?
So I've got dinner. I'm so excited.
Oh, okay.
It's got dinner.
It's a baked ziti, kind of.
Baked ziti!
And you don't want to watch, what, no F and ZD now? You don't want to watch Sopranos while you eat some F and ZD?
I dare, but I feel like Kathy made this. I feel bad.
I'm kidding.
Like,
I'm kidding. But hey, why don't you just give her something to go to sleep?
Whoa.
Whoa! You can just come watch Sopranos.
All right, chat. We'll see you on the other side. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
That's crazy. Bye, guys. Bye. Thanks for coming. Bye.